General Hospital spoilers for next week, April 28th to May 2nd. Predictions: the late afternoon sky above Port Charles was bruised with storm clouds when Sonny Corinthos finally staggered through the front doors of his penthouse. Each step a testament to the razor's edge between life and death he had walked mere hours before. His shirt clung damp against his skin, the collar stained with traces of blood and the unmistakable scent of betrayal. Inside the walls he had built to protect himself and those he loved, he had felt invincible, until Colette, the caring nurse whose gentle touch had lulled him into fragile trust, revealed herself as the instrument of his undoing. In the flicker of a heart monitor's flatline and the echo of Carly's anguished scream, Sonny had come to know that Brennan, the man he had once hailed as an ally, had dispatched his own operative to silence him forever. Now, as he leaned against the marble hall table, every muscle in his body trembling, he vowed that the woman who nearly killed him would pay, and that Brennan's treachery would not be left unanswered. Carly, waiting for him under the iron-and-glass chandelier that cast prisms across the polished floor, saw the rage burning behind his eyes before he spoke a single word. She had raced to his side at the hospital, helicopter blades still whipping her hair into a frenzy when she'd flung herself onto the gurney. In that dimly lit ER bay, her world had splintered into shards of fear and fury, and now she stood poised between retaliation and heartbreak. "Sonny," she whispered, voice thick with tears. He cut her off with a single look, one that mingled relief in his survival with the raw, unfiltered anger of a man who had come face to face with death at the hands of someone he trusted. "I intend to set a trap," he told her, voice low as the thunder rolling overhead, "for Colette. We'll flush her out of hiding, and when she steps into our net, she won't leave alive." Carly's breath caught, both at the thought of vengeance and at the recklessness of involving Brennan further. He had called her countless times since Sonny's collapse, his voice a blend of contrition and desperation, insisting he had authorized no attack, that Colette had acted of her own accord. Each plea had only deepened Carly's conviction. If Brennan was truly innocent, he would eliminate the rogue operative to prove it. And so, he had promised Carly and Sonny that Colette would vanish forever. But when word came through the underworld network that Colette had indeed gone missing and a body, bloody and disfigured, had been found in an abandoned warehouse by the docks, Carly saw in Brennan's triumph the same cold efficiency that had enabled a killer nurse in the first place. She realized with a jolt that the man she had begun to allow into her heart was no less capable of murder than any of Sonny's empire. In that moment, her resolve crystallized. The budding relationship between her and Brennan, fragile and tender though it had been, would end here, before it ever had the chance to truly begin. As the thunder cracked outside, shaking the windows, Carly turned away from Sonny, grief and determination contorting her features into a mask of sorrow. "I can't," she said, so softly that Sonny almost missed it. "Not this time." While Port Charles reeled from corporate assassins and internal betrayals, a quieter storm was brewing in the vaulted atrium of the Courtemain mansion. Dante Falconeri, the fiercely honest detective, found himself disarmed by a single glance from Lulu Spencer, her eyes bright with hope, her hand outstretched across an antique rug embroidered with family crests. They had danced this dance before, two souls entwined by love and separated by fate. Their reunion had felt like the first warm breath of spring, filled with whispered confessions over late-night dinners at Charlie's pub, laughter that chased away the ghosts of old wounds, and promises reborn beneath the stars. But the fragile peace between them shattered the moment Dante discovered Lulu's secret, a locked drawer in her apartment concealing adoption papers bearing his name and a child's face he had only ever dreamed of. The realization struck him like a fist. His son, the baby they had lost, was alive, hidden away in an orphanage while he had mourned, and Lulu had kept him from the only father he would ever know. In a storm of betrayal and heartbreak, Dante stormed to Brooklyn Quartermain's studio, Brooklyn, whose vivacity masked a steel-cold resolve, and demanded answers. The name Giovanni Quartermain trembled from his lips as Brooklyn, guilt and fear flickering across her eyes, confirmed the unthinkable truth. Dante staggered back, the world tilting. How many nights had he spent summoning that name in prayer? How many hours had he begged the universe for a sign of his son's fate? And all the while, his child had been hidden under layers of secrecy. By the end of that first night, Dante's grief had crystallized into a single, unyielding purpose: to reclaim his son and mete out justice to those who had silenced him. Armed with court orders and forged affidavits, he confronted Lois Quartermain in her opulent ELQ office at dawn. The matriarch, usually composed as a marble statue, trembled as Dante hurled the adoption records onto her mahogany desk, each sheet a testament to her complicity in burying his child's identity. "You let me bury him," he snarled, voice echoing through the cavernous room. "You let me weep for nothing." Lois's protests came too late. Dante's pain had hardened into steel resolve. By midday, he stood in the quiet nursery of St. Anne's Orphanage, Giovanni's tiny crib, awaiting a father's claim. Lulu arrived only moments later, tears in her eyes as she offered her hand to a man torn between fury and the tender ache of reunion. He accepted without a word, the silence between them charged with equal measures of forgiveness and the dire promise that those who had kept this secret would answer for the betrayal. Not far from these domestic tempests, another confrontation simmered in the hallowed halls of Penton University's Sciences Building, where ambition and espionage danced a perilous tango. Emma Scorpio Drake, brilliant and fiercely protective of Professor Henry Dalton, cornered Jocelyn Jacks in the sleek faculty lounge whose glass walls blurred the outside world into a series of translucent panels. Emma's words hissed through clenched teeth, "Stay away from Dalton. He's mine, and you have no right to seduce him with your looks or your ambition." Jocelyn's response was a poised drift of confidence, one that veiled the secrets Rutherford and her WSB handlers had bestowed upon her. "Professor Dalton deserves the best research assistant this university can offer," Jocelyn said, voice cool as distilled water. "If that happens to be me, so be it." Emma's eyes narrowed as Jocelyn's carefully neutral facade cracked just enough to reveal the steel beneath. The truth descended like a guillotine when Jocelyn admitted the existence of her clandestine mission: to infiltrate Dalton's research lab, safeguard his cutting-edge work for national security, and neutralize any threats to his, or her, objectives. Emma staggered back, her indignation drowned in awe of Jocelyn's unflinching resolve. Threats to expose her would-be seducer fell flat against the revelation that Jocelyn was backed by the full weight of the WSB. In that moment, Emma recognized the bitter truth. She was the amateur in a game of shadow and light that played across penthouse balconies, orphanage nurseries, and espionage-laden lecture halls. With a curt nod and a final warning to keep your distance, Emma retreated, leaving Jocelyn to stride away with the quiet confidence of one whose mission superseded all personal rivalries. Elsewhere, the sterile corridors of General Hospital thrummed with anxious energy as nurses exchanged hushed gossip over Alaris pumps and doctors locked patient files behind new, heavily coded systems. Christina Corinthos Davis, her usually vibrant spirit darkened by fear and shame, stormed through those corridors, her white lab coat clinging to her arms like the wings of a vengeful angel. The blackmail that had ensnared her family, Ava Jerome's threats to expose Christina's role in Rick Lansing's accident, had pushed her to the brink of desperation. When Ava, accustomed to wielding power with a practiced smile, found herself cornered in a dimly lit supply closet, Christina's voice was low and unyielding. "You threatened my mother. You gambled with my family's future. You'll pay for this." Ava's pleas echoed off the metal shelves as Christina, unrelenting, pressed forward. "I'd rather rot in a cell," Christina whispered, eyes cold as obsidian, "than let you destroy us." She stalked away, the soft click of her heels a drumbeat heralding the storm she intended to unleash. All at once, Port Charles felt smaller, as if those walls resonated with the echoes of vendettas and loyalties stretched to breaking. In the days to come, Sunny and Carly would activate their snare. Dante and Lulu would navigate the tenuous first breaths of fatherhood reunited. Jocelyn and Emma would wage silent war amid the hum of lecture halls. And Christina would sharpen her resolve to strike at the heart of her tormentor. And beneath every act of vengeance or forgiveness, the pulse of love, fierce, unguarded, and unapologetically human, would drive each of them toward destinies none could foresee beneath Port Charles's stormy skies.